Survivor Series 2025 WarGames. Doesn't sound right. If you watch this Survivor Series WarGames and you compare it to the others over the years that they've done the WarGames concept and the older Survivor Series, you can tell there's something not right here. It doesn't feel important. Now, were there things in here that were important? Yes. There were things... I want to make this very clear. Were there things in this show that was important in this PLE? Yes. But if you look at it for what it was lacking. It was lacking 4 matches. Now, most people say, dude, we're getting quality matches. Great, isn't it? Or are you going to complain that they needed more matches on this show compared to AEW that overpacks their show? Listen, this is the deal. It's not about how many matches you have in a show. It's about what leads into those matches. The quality of the story of the match itself. You can have 2 matches and it could be over a 2-hour. And if you make the story compelling, each one of those 1-hour matches would mean something. It's not about the length of the match. And it's not about the amount of the match. It's about what leads into that match. The quality of the stories. And here, you look at the 4 matches we had here. The show felt lacking. This feels like something was missing. I don't know about JD. I don't know about Alex. I don't know about Solomon. I don't know about Grim. I don't know about anybody else. This is me. They're all credible wrestling YouTubers. If you think I'm wrong, go watch them. They'll have better opinions than me. I'm just a very tiny little guy that gives a decent opinion that's honest. Not much different than most of them. But as someone who's been watching the product since he's been, 6? Since 1977. And yes, I've said this many times. I couldn't watch it for 10 years because my ex-wife at the time did not care about wrestling and I didn't want to start a fight with her. That's the way I did it. Next to that, there was a lot going on top of that. But if you're going to say this, as someone who's a longtime fan, who went back to wrestling, and then started doing YouTube videos on it, I'm not saying I know everything about wrestling, but I do know enough to know when something, you don't feel it here. You don't feel it here. And you wonder what's going on. Is it you? Are you the issue because you don't love wrestling anymore? Or you realize that something's wrong with the product. And I've said this many times. WWE is not in the business of making wrestling. It is in the business of using wrestling to make a profit. And it shows right here. It feels lacking. Yes, you had star power out the wazoo, but still it was lacking something. That spark, that smell, like you could smell something in the air, you can taste it. And yes, the fans there were very active in San Diego. No problem. They're not the problem. To me personally, there was something missing. Let's start with the women's WarGame match. The first 2 who started it, which made no sense whatsoever, you literally had a match on SmackDown where one of these 2 women, Asuka and Charlotte, were going to see who was going to get the advantage. Asuka lost. You would think, okay, Asuka lost. She had that match on SmackDown. Let's make someone else start the match other than Asuka. No. You start the match with Asuka and Charlotte again. You start the match with Asuka and Charlotte again. Why? I didn't want to see Charlotte and Asuka start the damn match. What I would have liked, you could have easily put Lash Legend to start the match. And you could have easily put, well, if you wanted to put, with Kyrie, I wouldn't say Kyrie should go first. I do believe Lash would have been good. And you could have used Io to work with Lash for the first 5 minutes. And then you can bring in the suspects that you normally would. But you started with Charlotte and Asuka, who we already saw start a match Friday. Yesterday. In the recording. And I'm like, dude, I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see something different. I wanted to see someone different. But no. The next two for Charlotte's side would have been Alexa Bliss and would have been Io. Io was second. Alexa was third. But then you got Becky, who came in next after Io came in. And then you had... And I was kind of surprised that you would go there with her, with Kyrie. Not saying that Kyrie shouldn't be third or fourth or fifth or seventh or ninth, or 10th for that matter. But I felt, why not Nia? Wouldn't it have been better to have Nia? And if you are going to use Lash, you should use her in the beginning, or, and I do want to compliment on this, as much as I thought, if you're going to start something different, you're going to not use Charlotte or Asuka, you would start with Lash. They chose to start, well, I was surprised that they let Lash be the last wrestler coming in. And that girl was just loving it, and those titties were going like this. Look, everybody like a pair of titties. That girl walking down there with her music, she was jiggling her ass all the way down to the damn ring. And she was the best looking one there. Let's make this very clear. When you saw Nia Jax, she was acting incredibly gentle at one point in the ring. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with Nia? And some of the other women were acting a little awkward, at least until they really got into the match. The person that wasn't acting awkward, that was Lash. That girl legitimately acted exactly as she does on NXT. I've always said Lash, she has to look to be great. I just did not like her gimmick. She's owned her gimmick now. And the way she performed in that ring, she looked good. Now, did she botch a couple of times? Of course she did. Particularly when she got misted in the face by Asuka, because that was the thing I saw. That was the most important thing. They wanted to protect Lash Legend. They did not want her to eat the pin. They wanted to make her incapacitated. So they had Asuka 100% miss her in the face. And I know they're going to say, well, dude, you notice the reason why Asuka missed her in the face is because Charlotte was saved by Rhea. Yes, she was. I believe it was Rhea who saved Charlotte. Or was it Charlotte who saved Rhea? I can't remember which one of the two did. And now they're supposed to be friendly at this point, burying the hatchet. But the key here is they wanted to protect Lash. She just joined the main roster, and they see something in her. As I've said before, I can see that Lash feels more natural in the ring compared to Jade Cargill. Jade is the current champion on SmackDown, I believe. Yeah, on SmackDown. And legitimately, she doesn't feel organic. She doesn't feel like she was constructed correctly in her storylines to make her feel important. They just decided to make her as dominant as possible by just letting beat up everybody. And she doesn't feel important. If you look at Lash, she feels important. And I was fine with that. Then we get AJ Lee. Now, here's the thing. Did I enjoy AJ Lee? Yes, I did. I did enjoy how she worked in the ring. Did I like seeing her hand the garbage can? And you see a picture of it. I am putting images in here. You see her literally on the shoulders of Rhea because she wanted to hand it to Io. I'm like, ugh. I don't care what Michael Cole said, that this is now classic Io Shirai. I'm calling it Shirai instead of Sky. Let's call it Io Shirai for this moment. Seeing that she does a moonsault and does it in the can. And I thought at one point she might have blown out one of her knees because the way she landed, even though she landed a lot on the women, she looked like her knee went way back. And I was worried about that. But the point here is this. Because she did it once, now they want to do it all the time now. And it doesn't feel important, doesn't feel special seeing her do a moonsault right off the top of the cage with a damn garbage can on her head. There's something wrong. And I think that's the problem. When you look at how they structured this match, it wasn't a bad match. But it felt more like there's no real story to it. It's just a match where they want to do as many spots as possible with very little story in it, if any at all. And yes, you're going to say Charlotte has story with Rhea Ripley. They're able to work together. Then you see Becky Lynch having a situation with AJ Lee. Here's the problem with that. AJ Lee should have came back a while ago, and unfortunately, Maxine Dupree has the current title, should not be around her waist. It should be around AJ Lee's waist. Or at least they should have done a match between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch at Survivor Series. That would have been the best time to let AJ try to get that damn title. But since she wasn't there, there was no story. So there's no story. As much as you want to say, well, they still have their conflict. Yes, they did. WrestlePalooza is where they started it. But the problem is there was no way to finish it. And yes, it was AJ who pinned Becky and used the octopus lock, or the what was it? Black Widow. There you go. I forgot. But the point is, shouldn't this be for a damn title? Not in a damn WarGames match? Shouldn't you be really interested in seeing AJ trying to finally get a title after so many years being away from the company? No, you give it to Maxine Dupree. And then you have this WarGames match, which kind of feels hollow. That's just me, you guys from below. Next match. Oh, I got my feelings on this. Maybe I'm just biased. I'm going to be honest here. I feel biased. There's a possibility I am biased here. I am possibly biased. Dominic Mysterio versus John Cena for the IC title. Now, this is Dom's hometown. Let's make it very clear. He's from San Diego. No problem. Fine. They said about 46,000 people. 46,011 people, I believe, were cheering. They were the biggest number they've ever seen in that stadium. Fine. Cool. Why did Dom have to win? And when you look at this match, how janky it looked, and how they tried to stage it that Dom hurt his arm like Penta, I'm like, what the blue fuck? No. It's obvious it's not happening. It was so telegraphed. Formulaic. That Dom was going to do whatever he took, and anything he took, in any way he can take it, get the title back, and then you see a little bit of Roxanne Perez and a little bit of understand. I knew Raquel was a strong woman. She was able to lift his ass up and basically slam his ass. No problem with John getting slammed by Raquel. And getting hit in the face with the title by Roxanne was fine. And yes, seeing Liv Morgan comes back, that would be cool. But why here? And I know you're going to say, dude, she deserves to come here. But you're now doing something that didn't need to happen. Let's make this clear. I'm going to say this right now. We already know Dom won the damn title. He says he's the best of all time like this. And he had Liv around his waist, wrapped around like she was his ploy toy. Fine. But let's make this clear. Did John Cena need to job and lose the IC title before Saturday night's main event, which is roughly in 2 weeks? You tell me. Honestly, for me personally, knowing that this was his last PLE and Saturday night main event will be his last official match, I had this thought. He should have been allowed to keep the title. You did not need to bring in Liv Morgan to kick him in the nuts. If you had to bring Liv Morgan in, she could have came in afterward and just tried to be there for him because, of course, Raquel and Roxanne were ejected. They couldn't help him anymore. I felt like she could have came out in his saddest moment, could have been there, and he just embraced her. And yes, that would have been going against the heel, but it would have been all right. But John losing this title, when I honestly believe this is me. You want to do something going into Royal Rumble? Start a tournament for the new IC champion. Let John Cena retire with the title. Let him retire it. Let them bring out a whole new design title for the IC championship. Why not? And then start a tournament that can easily lead going into Royal Rumble. Hell, you can even stretch into Elimination Chamber. Give us something to do. And give us more people than you normally would, because at the time of Royal Rumble, you can bring up NXT stars like JD had talked about, because he's saying that they need people on SmackDown. Well, guess what? Give them a reason to be on SmackDown. Bring up a whole bunch of people and just let them go. But now we're not going to get that because John lost it. People cheered their heads off from him saying thank you, which is great. But still, it just did not feel right for him to drop that damn title 2 weeks before his last match, when he could have just retired with it. Or, if you want to make it really, really sentimental, on that Monday Night Raw, he can go, and since he'll not wrestle again, he doesn't need to wrestle on Monday Night Raw. The only thing he needs to do is come in his regular suit with the title and relinquish it to Adam Pearce, because he's retired. He's not going to defend it anymore. And you could have done a tournament anyway. Either you let him keep it and produce a new title and make a tournament. I'm getting angry here. A tournament, or have him relinquish the title because he's retired and then do a tournament again anyway, which would have been fine. But no, this is what we get. It feels half-assed. They wouldn't go with it. They wouldn't just let John retire with it, or let John 100% just relinquish it on the next Raw after Saturday night's main event. I just feel like that's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. Final match. Oh wait, I can't. The match that felt so generic, that should have been on a Raw. Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella. Now, did I like Devil's Kiss on the announcer's table? Yeah, and I believe I got a shot of it and it's in my face. Did I like the Devil's Kiss in the ring? Yeah, it was fine. Do I believe Stephanie has a nice ass? Yes, she does. She even has a nice pair of boobs. Not much different than Nikki Bella. But here's the thing. What does Stephanie have other than she's a good wrestler? She got a nice pair of tits, nice ass, and a pretty face. She is pretty. What does she have? What did I tell you guys more than a year ago when she first came in? They gave her no character. They just let her just coast on her reputation. No building of story. Nothing. She had no story when she was in NXT. She had no story going on to the main roster. And legitimately, they just gave her titles until Nikki Bella. And here's the thing. I'm not even against Nikki. Why did they pick Nikki Bella? You know why? They had no credible challengers for her. Yes, you're going to say, what about Alexa Bliss? What about Rhea Ripley? What about all these other women? Well, guess what? They're in the WarGames match. There's been no one for her to really sink her teeth into a real feud, because there's no one who's been built well enough to do a real feud with Stephanie Vaquer. And the only women who have enough star power to really do a real program with her. Even Charlotte Flair could do a program with Stephanie Vaquer, even though it wouldn't be a great one. They didn't want to do it. So they gave Nikki Bella this, thinking because she's a legend, because she has credibility because of the life she had before in WWE, that would be enough. It wasn't. And it shows in the match, because when you look at the match between Stephanie and Nikki Bella, and I'm not against Nikki, I remember when she was part of Total Divas. And then she had her feud with her sister Brie. She legitimately worked on trying to improve her skills in the ring. She had not become like this. She was here. She became here. To maybe here. She wasn't a bad wrestler. She worked at it. But after being gone for so long, and then finally coming back, her skills have diminished. Her selling has diminished. Her ability to deliver moves correctly had diminished. When you watch some of these moves that she did with Stephanie, I think Stephanie legitimately got offended because of the way she was working the match. Now, mind you, she won't say it openly, and I don't believe she ever would, but during the match, you can see certain moves that she did just look so, too weak, not believable, or very sloppy. And I'm not even against Nikki Bella. I'm glad they have someone from the past because they have no star power on these shows. They have not built anyone. The only ones they built are the ones that have been around for quite a long time. They have left everyone else. You guys remember, their roster isn't empty on Raw or SmackDown. They do have women on SmackDown. But they've done nothing with them. Nothing. So how in the blue fuck are you going to get anyone over? When they really need to be over. Look, Kiana James is there. Julia is there. They don't feel important. They feel empty. They should be important. When it comes to Jade Cargill, shouldn't she be way more important? But guess what she did on SmackDown? I don't do reviews of SmackDown anymore because it sucked. But you literally had Jade Cargill. Surprising she wasn't on the show and had a match. No match for Jade. But Jade attacks the newly minted again. Chelsea gets laid out by Jade Cargill. Why? It feels empty. It feels like trash. Legitimately. It feels like trash. So the entire women's division feels heavily lacking. So seeing this match with Nikki didn't feel important to me. Yes, Nikki got cheers to a certain extent. Definitely Stephanie got cheers. But you can tell halfway through that match, it was blank. Let's move on to the final match. The men's WarGame match. The first ones open up was Punk and Braun Breaker. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I was only at 23 minutes. I know I talked too long about Nikki and Stephanie. I'm sorry. But that pissed me off. This one's going to take a little time. That match had only one true MVP. That was Braun Breaker. Guys, the first two was Punk and Braun Breaker. Then you see Cody because he managed to get it was Drew, not Cody. It was Drew who came out, I believe, next. And legitimately, no, it wasn't. Was it Drew? Yeah, it was Drew. It was Drew who came out after Cody. And after they beat up a little bit on a little bit of Drew, guess what we got? We got Braun Breaker getting put into a doomsday device. And that shit went wrong and Braun's neck got jacked. Here's the image of it. I think I got a couple of images. If I only got one, I only got one. You see him flipping back, but he lands square on his neck. Look at me now. His neck was pointing here. Real far. And he was done for a little bit. He needed to recover from that. And I'm hoping he didn't break anything because he's over 240 pounds. He went back and landed square on his neck. And by the end of the match, he's already holding this because it's hurting him. But that was shockingly bad. But he managed to recover and just kept doing the match like nothing was wrong with him. He's the MVP of it. Now, how did Logan Paul do? He was the fifth one, I believe, that came in. Let me give it to you like this. I don't care what anybody says about Logan. How you feel about him, if you like him, if you don't like him. At this point, he is a wrestler. He's a wrestler. He's done the work. He's been in the ring. He's actually been injured. He's a wrestler now. I don't care about what he did before. Unless he does some stupid YouTube stuff, which he's not doing that. He still does his podcast. But legitimately, he's a wrestler. And he's a good wrestler. He's got a good character. He works very well in the ring. And he's someone you just want to say, fuck you, you dickhead. That's his personality. Good. It's exactly what we want from a heel. We hate his guts. We want to curse him out. And he's done very well for himself. He wasn't the MVP. That was Braun. But he's an easy second. Now, when you see Bronson Reed, and this is something I'm sure Bronson might have had a little bit of feeling towards, because he did break his ankle in the last WarGames match. He broke that sucker. Luckily, he was able to recover from it. But I'm sure he had a couple of thoughts about if he was going to be crazy enough to go to that top of that cage and try that again. He tsunami'd everybody when he came in, which was all right. I didn't have a problem with it. The one I had a problem with is only one person. Jay. Now, if anybody knows me for a long time, I've always said Jey Uso was and has been a top star. He worked hard at it. They booked him in a certain way to do it. And it looked like he was going to be a main eventer like his name. But at this point, he's lacking. It's like he's become complacent. And understand, I still believe the best storyline for him would be to become the tribal chief. He didn't need to be champion. You just need to become tribal chief and break up the family permanently. So they will all just be standard wrestlers again, even though they'll be family. Once in a while they come back together. That's what I thought. But they gave him the world championship. It was great. But since then, he has not tried to improve his craft. He hasn't. Hell, when he does his theme song and then rolls that bitch back, he's getting fucking winded more than he did before. What the fuck? Now, I didn't say this for quite a while because I needed to see if I was right about it, that he's become complacent. Look at Jimmy. Now, I've always liked Jimmy because he was Naomi's husband. But I always thought he's more of a joker, a charismatic joker, where Jay has been more of a serious type of person, which he is. But when you look at Jay compared to Jimmy, I will say Jimmy, he improved his skills in the ring, not much, but a little bit, but his character is more developed. And I'm like, what the hell's happened here? Jay was on top and still is considered on top because, as I've stated it before, the current product is not about making wrestling. It's about using wrestling to make money. And Jay is a consistent money maker. It isn't about him being the biggest and most highest grossing merch seller. It is about him being consistently high. If it's the top one, fine, as long as it's consistent. If it's the top three, fine. That's why he's consistent. That's why they push him so much. Now, of course, he is being pushed because he does have relatives that will try and push him like The Rock. But also, he is consistent with his merch sales. They are literally still very high. He hasn't stopped getting people to love him. And I really feel like he's become very complacent about that because his ring set should be better than it is. Because I'm not saying that he hasn't done what he's been doing before, but it doesn't look like he has a lot of feeling behind it. And I'm someone who's always talked about him becoming the tribal chief. So unless he becomes better, I'm going to be saying he's becoming complacent. Now, by the end of that match, which was good, and Roman came in, they had their moments with Roman, with Punk, and Roman with Cody and things like that, especially like Cody nailing Punk in the face when he first came in, when he was trying to get Drew because Drew beat the crap out of him in his truck, in his bus. By the end of it, we get an unknown assailant jumping into the cage and stomping Punk, which made it possible for Braun to pin him. Braun pinned him by doing a spear. I don't know. It's obvious that Seth, as far as I know, Seth is still recovering. He had surgery, just like I do believe that Wade Barrett is right, that he just recently had the surgery, so it's not him. I don't know who it is. I don't know. It's going to be somebody that I'm missing. I don't want you to tell me. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. If you know, you say the speculation, this is speculation. I don't want to know the speculation either. Don't tell me the dirt sheets. Don't tell me the dirt sheets. Don't tell me the speculation of other people. Don't. If you want to tell me who you think it is, I'm fine with that. I don't want to hear the speculation from any of the sites. I don't want to hear from Ron Sapp. I don't want to hear it from anyone. I don't want that speculation. Now, I know I'm going to hear somebody's thought about it, but I don't want to hear from the wrestling websites. So please do not link me nothing, or don't quote what is being talked about in the wrestling sites. If you watch this video, you heard me say it. This is what I think. You could say that. In fact, I want you to use that statement. This is what I think. Do not tell me this is a speculation. I will not read it. I will leave your comment unread, because if you say this is people are speculating, I don't want to hear it. Tell me what you think. Fine. I don't want to know what's going on with the other sites. But we get Punk fist bumping a little bit of Roman because they respect each other. But when it came to Cody and Roman, he said, we're not doing this again. We're not doing this again. It's fine. First, Cody gets up in Roman's face. Roman walks away and pretty much says, we done. I'm never doing this again. He says, fine. So that means their feud is going to be rekindled. Well, Roman wants to get his title back. He'll probably go after Cody because he is on SmackDown. Like I said, this is lacking. I'm sorry. Was there star power here? Yeah, there was star power here. Was there good wrestling? Yeah, there was, to a certain extent, good wrestling, but it felt lacking. And certain decisions I felt were not just safe, but legitimately formulaic and ridiculously a waste of time. But this is just me. You guys tell me below. I hope you enjoyed this Survivor Series WarGames. Give me a comment below. Peace.